Good morning, dear Stitchers. It's Judy with JBW Designs, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. I'm so grateful for all of you who take the time to watch. I love your notes that you write to me in the comment section, the emails you send with information, your letters. It's just so appreciated. And you have so many choices, and I think that's what makes me especially grateful. So I have several themes today. First of all, I want to review some things that I found out last week from the last video that I did, actually 2 weeks ago, and one thing that I left out, and then some information that came from some of the viewers that was really quite interesting. So let's get started, and hopefully you're having a good day today. I know it's so hot across the U.S. We're lucky here in Michigan it isn't an extreme heat situation. So hopefully my theme today of Christmas will help those of you who are in miserably hot climates to have positive thoughts about something other than the heat, which I don't know about you, but I don't do well in at all. I kind of wilt. So one of the topics that I wanted to address first of all is that I am hoping this is working. Sometimes I never know. Last time I did a video, I showed you some models that were baby themed. And I always have, I'm surrounded by things that I want to show you. And then when I finish the video, I realize, oops, I forgot that one. So this is one actually, we have our favorites. This frankly did not sell that well, but I love the message of it. And so I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's called The Birth Sampler. You Shall See Wonders. And I love when I read, actually I saw that phrase on a card and I thought, oh, what a beautiful thought for a baby. And so this is what that model looks like. And it's really based on, old-fashioned samplers. It's got an alphabet at the top with a little house and a tree. And there's room to put the baby's date and, of course, the baby's name. And this is mounted in a beautiful box. And I'm sure you've seen these before. They're from Lone Elm Lane. And I'm going to lift the lid of it if I can here. I think I'm going to have to set it down to lift it here. So you can see, here I can hold that a little closer. So it was just mounted in the inside of the box and then finished with a little cording. And then the inside of the box would be wonderful to store just little keepsakes. So check out their website. They have absolutely beautiful products. And I can tell you a little bit about the book that this and the model that I did for this design. So the finished size is about 7.6 inches square. And of course I had to make, it could be stitched, I think you could get an 8 or 9 inch in that opening, you'd have to check. But it's stitched on a 32 count linen. The linen color is a Belfast called Light Sand. It was worked over 2 threads with 2 strands of floss. And let's see and it includes an alphabet, of course, to personalize your name and date, etc. And then it uses a variety of Weeks Dye Works and Classic Color Works, but of course I always give DMC equivalents. So that was one I thought you might be interested in seeing because it hasn't been shown for a long time. It was actually designed about 8 years ago, and it's still available. So that was one of my things that I wanted to catch up on you with. And then another item had to do with the samplers, the antique samplers that I showed last time. And it was so interesting. I'll tell you what, you viewers are so generous with your time, with your efforts to help me out if I have a question about something. And so I'm going to show you this sampler and we'll talk a little bit about it. I had 2 samplers. Actually, I had 3 samplers let me take that back. I had 4 samplers last time. The number keeps going up. 1 was I bought at an antique show, and 3 I actually had a chance to buy from kind of a friend of my sister-in-law, who was selling her antique pieces. And I sold one of the samplers. I didn't sell this one, so if anyone is interested, let me know. The interesting thing about this particular sampler was that it is not only signed and dated, but it also gives the exact location of where she lives. So once again, her name is Julia Ann Olmsted. Ann is actually my middle name, so I love that. And I made a comment about, it said Malta, Saratoga County. And I didn't do any research ahead of time, but I'm telling you what, you all researched it for me, because I discovered from all of your notes that Malta is indeed a small town outside of Saratoga Springs. It's at the base of the Adirondack Mountains. And then another viewer, Grammy B, wrote to me, and she actually did research on Julia, which was so appreciated. She was born in 1816, which is signed on her piece. She died in 1889. Ironically, she died in Michigan, which I found interesting, but she is buried in a cemetery in Malta. She was married twice. Her first husband was named Joshua, and her second husband was named Moses. And she was married to Moses in Wisconsin, so she obviously, from these states that we're getting in the history, moved from New York, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then her final resting place, of course, is back in New York. And I just thought that was so interesting. This sampler is still for sale, so if any of you are interested in it, just email me and let me know. Otherwise, I'll return it to my friend, and perhaps she can find a buyer for it. So, what do I want to talk about today? I thought I would talk about Christmas in July. And I know that seems crazy, but it is a fairly common theme among floss tubers and stitchers. I actually see quite a few floss tubers who mention that they are stitching an ornament a month or designs in July for Christmas. Perhaps it's just the thought of it, right? It cools us off. So I pulled out a number of my Christmas designs, and I thought I'd show you the models, and I always hope to inspire you with the finishing. So what shall we start with today? Well, let's start with this one, because this has such gorgeous finishing. Thanks to my professionals. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I did pick another bouquet for you of hydrangeas from our front yard. The bushes don't look great, but I'm just treasuring every little blossom that I can bring into the house for a bouquet. So many of you love seeing those. So this particular design is called Be Merry. And I'll show you the model. And then I'm going to also show you the booklet, because it was finished, sorry about that, in 2 different methods. It was finished as a flat, which would be actually quite easy for you to do. You know that Vanna Pfeiffer has many videos on finishing. She does amazing work. And so you'd just be mounting your backing fabric with a little bit of padding. You'd be doing the same thing with your front board, and as I've said in the past, I use comic board. If you're interested in more finishing details, I would go back and watch some of my earlier videos. I think number 57, I talked a lot about finishing the ornaments that are in my new Ornament Collection 5 booklet. So to continue with this, this piece was just mounted with a little bit of lace that I had in my collection. I actually sent that to the finisher because I thought it would look so beautiful as part of the finishing. And I can give you a little hint about the lace. Rather than trying to go around the corners with lace or rickrack, which sometimes makes the corners look quite wonky, I would do just a piece at a time. And it just turns out to look so much neater if you can cut one piece, a second, a third, and a fourth as you're going around your piece. And then this was finished with a red and white twisted cording, and a little bow was added to the top. So I just love how that turned out. I just thought it was quite pretty. I love the alphabet that I found to use in this piece. That's one of the themes that I want to talk to you about in another video, is finding fonts in samplers or in books that you own that you can use for yourself in pieces that you're stitching on. So that is one of the models, and let me tell you, let's see. So this one, was the one I just showed you, was worked on a 32 count Belfast linen in antique white, and it was done with 2 threads over 2, and there are only 4 colors in this, and again it gives the equivalence in DMC. So here's the second model of this that I just love. You know that drums these days are so popular, so my finisher did such a fabulous job finishing it with a velvet top. I actually, when I got it back, we added the ribbon, a little charm, and then I found this darling little like antique silk strawberry, and I added that to the top. The interesting thing is it doesn't want to cooperate with my placement there. So anyhow, I thought this was beautiful. So it has a velvet on the top, it has a chenille both at the top and at the base, and let's look at the base. And then the base is just a fabric. So once again, Vanna gives wonderful tutorials on how to finish a drum, and I just love that finish. I think it's spectacular. So that's one of my inspirations for you. Let's set that one aside. Let's see. I want to show you, as I say, I place things all around, hoping that I remember to share them with you. So I, the last couple weeks, have not only been sending some new designs off to finishers, but I had one that I wanted to finish myself, actually. And I think a year or so ago at Hobby Lobby, I should have pulled the book out to show you, I found these wooden wreaths that were made out of like a balsa wood. And I've been back, you know, they have their Christmas stuff out, it's crazy, to find more of these wooden wreaths because they just make a beautiful mount for Christmas designs, round ornaments. I have several round ornaments, incidentally, in my new Ornament 5 booklet, and I couldn't find the wreaths that I was looking for. But I did find a package, and I'll put the notes and the numbers about this in the description below, of these little wooden ornament wreaths. That is hard for me to say, isn't it? I must have a little lisp in my voice. So anyhow, I liked the shape of these because the piece that I was finishing was round, and I actually spray painted these. I ended up taking the ribbon off. I spray painted these, or you could paint by hand, because I needed them to match the color of the floss that I was using in this particular design. And I put another ribbon in and a little charm, and I thought, I can't show it to you yet because it's one of the new designs, but I thought it turned out beautifully. So this is an idea for finishing for you for some of your small Christmas designs. And it's really quite reasonable. Round ornament, it's called. There are 6 pieces, it's only $2.50. And as I say, I will put the SKU number in my notes below. Hopefully I'll remember, right? So let's move on to some more Christmas designs. I have done a series of stockings, and many of you may be familiar with these. It's so cute. Debbie from Snug Harbor Crafts has been stitching them. I tell you, she and Kef are some of my biggest supporters. I just get such a kick out of their videos because they always say, "Judy, we love you," which is very sweet. So anyhow, in this series of, I digress, right? In this series of 15 stockings, there are 15 books, in the series, and they cover a wide variety of Christmas songs and Christmas hymns. And so I pulled out 2 of the models today because they're fairly quick to stitch. And these are not done over one like many of mine that I show you. These are actually done over two. So I pulled out two of the models, and I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the finishing of them and show you two of the pieces. So this one happens to be We Three Kings, and it was so much fun. I loved picking the colors for this because they're not traditional Christmas colors, but they're blues and lavenders and purples. And the design, as I mentioned, let me show you the model, is stitched over two with 2 strands of floss. And I usually have little charms. In this case, I put a little tiny star charm, also beads in the background. This was professionally finished with a beautiful ruched ribbon. And I want to show you this up close if you can see it. The ruched ribbon is actually attached with pins, and each pin has a bead on the top. I always thought that finish was particularly lovely. So let's look at that up close again. And let's see, this is book number 13. Most of them, not all of them, are stitched on antique white or a kind of a pale beige sand color linen. And as I say, they don't take that long to stitch. So how to finish them? That's the beauty of it. So let's talk about this real quickly. Again, I've reviewed it before, but if you're new to my channel, you might not have heard it before. So you're trying to figure out, how am I going to make a stocking shape? And as I mentioned before, I use comic board because that's actually what one of my professional finishers uses. It's just the right weight because you can cut it with scissors. If you use mat board, you really have to cut it with an X-Acto knife, which is very labor intensive and somewhat dangerous, right? So how to get this, a template for this shape? If you just take this stocking, after it's stitched, lay it down on top of your on your printer, make a copy of it, then you have the shape of this design. And once you have that copy of it, then you can just draw around it, leaving a margin, and then you have your shape for your stocking. It's finished as a flat, so the back is just one cardboard with a little felt or batting on it, covered with your backing fabric, and then the front is done in the same manner. And then I stitch the two pieces together, and then I add my trim. And you can do pom-pom trim. I've done rickrack. On this other one I'm going to show you, it's actually a chenille trim. So there are many, and cording, twisted cording works beautifully. So that's a quick lesson on how to finish a little stocking that are in this. It's called the Sing a Song of Christmas series. Here's another one from that same series. This is Sing a Song 10, and this is called Jingle Bells. So I added a couple little bells at the top there. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at this. You know, these go to trunk shows, and sometimes when I get them back, I realize that there's something that's either been taken from them. I'm going to try to see if I can figure out what this is. I'm not sure why, but there's a loose thread on the front of that, so I'm definitely going to have to try to fix that. But you can see what that design looks like. Same thing, it's stitched over two. They're not very big. They're only less than 3 inches wide and about 4 inches high. And each stocking is really the same shape. So let's look at that booklet. This is what the booklet looks like for this one. I'm getting a little glare from my light here. So these are just fun to stitch. I have seen them made actually into actual stocking with an opening, and that would be great to put a gift card in. So those are two other Christmas designs to inspire you. All right, now I want to show you, I'm going to grab this one that's close to me here. So this was a design, yes, that came out last year, and I often like to stitch the models in several different ways. I'll stitch them, let's see if I can show you the choices here without showing you the chart. So one of the models that I did, this is called O'er the Fields. I forgot to tell you the title. So this particular model I stitched with red on off-white linen. I think, let's see, let's look at the linen without showing you the chart. Okay, the over 2 thread one was actually stitched on I thought it was a 36, I don't have the model here, a 36 count linen with 1 ply of floss over 2 threads. So that was one of the models that was stitched. Then of course I can't let it go at just one model. I have to try a different color combination, and that's what I encourage you to do with my designs. You don't have to do at all. And I think many designers feel this way. You don't have to do what we choose. We want you to choose what you like and love what you have when you're finished with it. So I also stitched it over 1 on red, a 28 count red linen. And then I did a third model, which looks very wintry. You could leave it out perhaps longer. I stitched it on, this was over 1 too, on a 28 count linen, and it was done in a lovely lavender blue. And you can see the finish. I found some fabric that I thought just blended beautifully with that at our local fabric store, and this was just trimmed with a rickrack. So I think that would be an easy finish for you to do yourself, especially if you're a quilter or a sewer. So that's O'er the Fields, and as I say, there were 3 models of that. This was the only model right now that I have here at home. Here's another one that is, you know, I love doing series, and I have done quite a few. I'm trying to think. There's, I'm going to show you this one, which is Tidings of Joy. There's another one that's very similar to this that is, am I going to show you that? No, I don't have that model today. That's called Oh Christmas Tree. And there's a third design in this series called Joy Noel. And they're all very similar. You could stitch them over 2, as I did here on the cover, or of course you could stitch them over 1. And the fun part about these is, again, they're not large pieces to finish. And each one has a very similar, I think of it as kind of a Danish-Norwegian theme with reindeers and hearts and Christmas trees. I should have pulled the other 2 books. I'll do that another week. But sometimes people write to me and they say, oh, how am I going to finish this? And I often tell them, study the model on the front of the book, because that will give you some hints on finishing. And I'm going to show you some of my designs I have some finishing kits for, and I pulled those out today. I don't have many left, but I thought you might be interested. I don't have one for this anymore. Sometimes I can't get the ribbon or the fabric that I've used in the past to make the finishing kits. But this particular one is just finished as a pillow. So you're going to do a short piece of fabric on the bottom of your design and then a long piece along the edge. And then the fun part is adding the trims. So this is just a little lacy trim here. Here's a row of rickrack along here. The checked ribbon is actually quite easy to find. This is the ribbon that I've not been able to find lately. It was made by a company that's now out of business. I wish I could find it because it's gorgeous. So if you know of a source for this ribbon with the French lettering, I would love it. But you could put another kind of pretty white ribbon through here and it would look just as sweet. And then I added a row here, a bow here, and then my finisher added a little button too. But I just love the way that turned out. So the picture of that is on the cover of the book, and the book is called Tidings of Joy. The over 2 model, let's see, here we go, was done as a larger pillow. It was stitched with 2 threads, 2 strands of floss over 2 on a 32 count linen. And then this particular one was stitched on an off-white linen with 1 strand of floss. So let's see if I can tell you anything else about it. Let's see what color red I used. Let's look. I used ribbon red or schoolhouse red, which are, ribbon red of course is Classic Color Works and schoolhouse is Gentle Art, and both are great sources. So this is hoping to inspire you again today. Maybe looking forward, maybe you'll get it and say, oh, I'll stitch that in October instead of July. So let's see, I have 3 other sets to show to you today. So what's kind of fun is that a couple years ago, I decided I was going to do a set of Christmas smalls. And I ended up getting carried away with doing the smalls. This is what the book looks like. And let's see if I can have, it's actually a 4-fold. I can open it here and show you. So there are pictures of all 5 of the smalls pictured in the booklet. And I'm going to show you each one of them and talk to you a little bit about the finishing, because again, this is something that you could probably do yourself. This booklet actually includes finishing directions for each piece that's in the booklet. So let's see, what did I stitched on a 32 count Belfast linen. All the designs except for one has been stitched over 2. So this is one of my favorites. And it's just a little, I'm going to open it up so you can see the inside of it. It's just a little needle case. And there are, as I say, there are directions in here of how to finish it. But I can kind of walk you through just a brief description of what this assembly would be like. So obviously you're going to have 4 round discs all together. And the back, of course, is going to be covered with your backing fabric. And you're just going to cut your round disc. I didn't even use any batting with this one. And then a second round disc that you're going to attach your felt to for your needles to be attached to. And then I just hand sewed, or you could glue those 2 together. Now before you do that, you really have to assemble the front piece. So the front piece of this is, I've talked to you about this before, but I love this finish. Actually, my finisher did it once with something else, and I just thought it was so unique. So once again, I'm going to show you the inside of the front is just a plain disc covered with fabric. But then the outside disc, rather than wrapping your fabric from the front to the back of it, you're doing just the reverse. So you're wrapping your fabric from the back, let's see if I can hang on to my picture here, from the back to the front of your disc. And I think I mentioned this last week. If you just finger pinch and glue this all the way around, and you want to make sure you have enough of an edge in there because you're gluing something else on top of it, then you get this beautiful little, almost like a little pleated finish around the edge of the front of this. So this is just a simple little vase design in pale Christmas colors. A twisted cord went around the edge. Now, the not tricky part, but the thing to know is how are you going to attach these 2 discs? Well, you're going to run a ribbon, let's see if I can show this up close, between the back 2 discs. You can see the little ribbon coming through the middle and down through the front. So it's going on the front, it's going to be over the pleated part, but it's going in underneath the pleated part coming out at the base, and then you can just tie it in a little bow. So isn't that a sweet finish? So that's one that was in Christmas smalls. And then I also did kind of a flat finish scissor case. And I just did a little Christmas tree. I put a little, just another Button Company star up at the top, and then just a button with a bow there. But the unique thing about this is finished as a flat, but it has a pocket in the back. So let me pull out my little scissors case here. So you could put your scissors in the back of this pocket, and then I did a separate little round disc. Let me take this out so I can show this to you, which is just your little scissor fob, and this was stitched over one on a 28 count fabric, and I just did cording around the edge. I added a little charm you can see at the bottom, and then just tied it through the scissor. So that makes just a nice little Christmas set. So here's the back with the little scissor fob, and then the front of your little scissor case. So that's the second one in that series. Then I've done this before too. I love it. The little smalls, for some reason, I'm just very attracted to. So this design is just a little bouquet. And again, it's in kind of pinks and greens, burgundies. It makes such a pretty color combination. And this is just a pin disc. It's just decorative. It would look great on a tiered tray or in your sewing box. Oh, that reminds me, I think I forgot to get that out to show you. I'll have to tell you about it. So anyhow, it's the same principle as what I've talked to you about before. A back disc you're going to cover with fabric. The front disc is padded, and I hand sew the two of those together. And then these are just pins that are slid between the two layers. I actually see a pin missing. I have some repairs to do, don't I? That's what happens when things go off to trunk shows. Sometimes they're handled or things get lost, charms get lost. So it's important for me to see them again to fix them. So this is the last model in that series, and I did a strawberry. And the design, of course, as you can see, is taken actually from an antique sampler. The vase is from an antique sampler. And then I just designed the flowers to go into it. This is the first strawberry I had ever done. And I followed Vanna's directions explicitly. I was actually quite nervous about doing it. I don't know. I was so worried that I was going to do something wrong. But her directions are so good that it actually turned out really well. You can see I did just a wool piece at the top, and then I put some silver bells on, some darker green holly up here. If you follow her directions, you really can master doing a strawberry. So those are the 5 designs that are in the Christmas Smalls booklet. So what else can I inspire you with? Aha. So I'm going to pull out another design, and this is one that actually has a kit that goes with it. So this one is called Nordic Reindeer, and I've stitched it in 2 different ways. And oh my gosh, this would look wonderful in red, in green, whatever a color. I did a navy blue, which is probably a little unorthodox, but I like the way it turned out. This was stitched, and it's going to be a little tricky for you to see, on a fabric from Zweigart that is called Sparkle, and it's called gray and white. I see it more as kind of a grayish blue, but it has, you can see more on the side, it has like little almost like stars or snowflakes scattered throughout the design. It's throughout the whole fabric. But I thought that was kind of a unique fabric to stitch this model on. And this was finished by my professional finisher. She finished it as a pillow. And then I think I added the little tassels on it because I thought it needed a little something else. And it just has a twisted cord on the edging and a polka dot backing. So that is one model of Nordic Reindeer. Let me show you what the booklet looks like. So here's the booklet. As I say, the over 2 model was stitched on this sparkle from Zweigart. I will list all these books in my description below in case you're looking for them, and hopefully I'll remember to list the fabric of this one because it's unusual. But then, of course, I also had to stitch it over 1. And I chose a navy blue fabric, and I stitched it, there's a glare there, in white. And then I finished it just as a pillow with lots and lots of trims. I do not have the model for this piece here right now, but you can see from the cover of the book that you would be able to replicate this yourself. I just used a tiny blue and white polka dot fabric. I used a gingham navy ribbon, some rickrack, it's a trim I think that I got at Joann Fabrics, or I might have gotten it at Hobby Lobby, I can't remember, but you can find cute trims at either store. So what I wanted to show you is that I have only a few of these kits left, and it has the trims in it that you would need to make this design over one. They are not on my website, and I'm going to ask you, if you're interested in getting a finishing kit which has the trims and the directions for how to finish it, how to assemble it, that you just send me an email. And my email is judy@jbwdesigns.com, and that's the best way to reach me. So I have another design, the last Christmas one, that I want to show you that falls into the same category, in that I did many versions of this particular piece. And I also have a finishing kit for one of them. So this design, it actually, to me, feels a lot like the Tidings of Joy that I showed you. I think I just have, I don't know, it's just, I love doing the borders and the reindeer and the alphabets, and that's what is in Dashing Through the Snow. So this one I also did 3 models of, and I'm going to show you, I have 2 of the models here. So the first one I'm going to show you is the model that's stitched on a polka dot linen, which I've always loved. This is a Zweigart linen. Let me show you that up close. It is called Petit Point Linen Raw White. And this particular model that I'm going to show to you was stitched with 2 threads on a 32 count. That's a 32 count linen, sorry, with 2 threads over, with 2 ply of floss over 2 threads. And I just framed it to finish it. But, you know, if you didn't want to do the alphabet or wanted to extend this, I could see putting someone's name down at the bottom of it. So that was one of the models of Dashing Through the Snow. Now I'm going to grab another one here. Try to set this down quietly. So then, let's see, what else? I have to look in the book to remind myself what was the third model. The third model, actually, again, I love blue, so I stitched it with blue on white. I'll have to look up the fabric and the color for that one. But let's see. Let's see if I can look that up. Okay, so the over 2 model, which was done in the blue, was stitched on a 40 count legacy linen, and the legacy linen was called Attic Lace. And let's see what color I used. There's my code. I had to search for it. So I used actually a DMC 809 for the pale blue. And then for the red one here that I showed you, the framed one, I used a 3804, a DMC, or I also used, actually I used Strawberry Fields, Weeks Color Works, and 3804 is the equivalent. I'm stumbling a bit here. And then here's the third model in this series. And this, again, you know, I love the on red with white. And I love how that turned out. Somehow the white on red is so distinctive looking. It's so distinctive is the only word I can think of to say. So let me tell you, did I tell you all you needed to know about this one? This is a 28 count linen from the red from Wichelt. I think it's called Christmas Red. And I think I told you about the fibers. All right, now I did do also a finishing kit for this design over one. And if you're interested, just like the Nordic Reindeer, just write to me. As I say, it's not on my website. And if you're interested, I don't have a lot left. I think I have 6 or 8 of each of those finishing kits. But it might be something you're interested in. And what spurred me to look is that I actually got a letter from someone this week wanting to know how to finish something, and I didn't have any of the finishing kits left. So, okay, that is the conclusion of my Christmas in July portion. And I thought you might, so I have a couple more things, of course, to tell you about. What have I been working on? Well, I'm kind of between designs. I'm in the I've just started designing something new, but it's not ready to stitch yet. And so when that happens, I pull out a design that is, I tell some people it's going to be like my lifelong project. first of all, look at, I've got it in my beautiful bag from Catherine. I started it 2 years ago. It's huge. It's not one of my designs. It's a GGR, and I love it, but it is so big. So I'm going to show you and talk to you about a little bit about this. So GGR is actually a gal from Belgium who produces beautiful antique samplers. And I heard someone talking about GGR designs actually the other day, the Paisley Stitcher, and she said that Jean from the Attic carries many of the GGR. This one I had to do a search for because it was quite a, she does a series of what she calls, I will not pronounce it in French because you know that it will sound horrible, but it's really the letters, the bell letters from GG. And so I chose the J, and it is, actually it's an interesting piece to stitch because there are so many antique motifs in here and so many beautiful fonts and alphabets that she has used for the different letters J that are scattered throughout the whole piece. So it is a 9-page booklet. I've actually, because some of them have to overlap and some of the charts overlap, I've actually been cutting and taping some of the pieces together because they're easier to follow if I don't have to just overlap them. So let me show you what this looks like. I actually ironed it today, but it gets wrinkled very quickly. So this is what I have done so far. And as I warned you, it's huge. But isn't that J in the center just magnificent? So how much more do I have to go? Well, I have figured out, so you can see the bottom of the fabric down here. I think I'm almost 2/3 done, but I have a lot to go yet. And I really don't have that much time to work on it. I'll show it to you again because it's just so much fun. But the other thing that's interesting about it is she scattered, it's going to be hard for me to hold. I'm going to hold it kind of in half so it's a little more manageable. So in her pattern, she scattered, you'll see empty places here, like here and over here. Let's see if I can show you any others. There's a space here, there's here. She scattered initials through there. And it took me a while actually to realize that I didn't have to use the ones that she chose. Let's see if I can find, I'm trying to find my paper here and I don't see it. It's probably in my pattern there. That I was going to choose letters that were the first names of my family members. So we have a fairly large family with children and grandchildren. So I've chosen 12 letters. And I actually found an alphabet in one of my antique sampler booklets that I published in the last couple years that I really liked. That was very graceful. It's quite small. So I'm going to scatter myself, my husband, our children, and our grandchildren's first initials throughout this piece. And so I think it will have a lot more meaning when I do that. Let's see if I can find that. I thought I tucked it in here. Well, it's okay. You know what I mean. But anyhow, this is my lifelong project. I hope I finish it because I really enjoy working on it. But as I say, I don't have a lot of time. So now what do I want to tell you about? I always like to talk to you about a shop of the week. And this week I chose a shop that is in Cape May, New Jersey. And it's called Stitch by Stitch. And the owner is Sharon. I've known her for years. She is on my automatic. And the fun thing is that my neighbor Sue was out in New Jersey this past weekend with some of her family members, and she visited the shop. She didn't have enough time, she said, to really explore it, but they had, she showed me a picture of it. on the inside, it looked amazing. Tons of models, tons of fibers and fabrics. So if you're looking for something and you need a source, I'm going to encourage you. I always encourage you to support our independently owned needlework shops. So Stitch by Stitch, 315 Ocean Street, Cape May, New Jersey. I'd love to go there. I've seen pictures of Cape May. It looks amazing. I'm sure some of you who are watching will have been there. So here's her phone number and her email. I see that it should be .com. Just a little mistake by my tech supervisor, myself. So that's one shop that I'll encourage you to visit. And then I always select 3 winners each week from my previous videos who have made comments. So you don't have to answer a question, just write to me, and I choose them with a random number generator. So my names this week, and incidentally, if your name is called, thankfully all 3 of the people that were called last time wrote to me. If your name is called, just name something that I showed today and I will send that booklet to you as a thank you. So today we have Michelle M. We have Loretta H. And Loretta, I have a feeling you and I have met before. So if you watch and if you answer, let me know. And Robin K, and Robin is spelled R-O-B-Y-N. So please write to me, and congratulations. I'm glad to have winners. So I have a quote for today, and then I have some information that I always want to share with you, and that is how to contact me. So my email is judy@jbwdesigns.com. My website is jbwdesigns.com. I do have a shop on the website. I only have older patterns on that shop, but if there's something that you're looking for, you might check it out. Let's see, I'm on Instagram. It's judy.whitman. And then also I have a Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page. And I mentioned last time, and it's happened again, so I do not sell anything on that Friends page. But I'm finding out that we're getting some, let's say, pesky people who are joining, and I don't realize this until after they've joined, and they're trying to sell things. And several people have noticed this and have reported them. If you ever see that, and let someone know that this is not legal, it's not part of my purpose for this page, please report them or let me know so that I can have them removed from this site. So it is a little pesky, but that's our world today, right? So here's my quotation for the day. Set aside some time today to work on your needlework, even if it's just for 30 minutes. You'll be glad you did it. And how true that is. So hope you have a good weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. And thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.